now it's time to start mixing all of this down to create an MP3 that we can then use to share with anybody. But to do that, we want to mix it all down so that everything sounds the way we want it to sound. In the beginning, the vocals wasn't loud enough, and the background noise is too loud, the music's too loud. And so when you listen to this, there's not a real good balance, and the overall sound is a little too loud. And so what we can do now is go in and adjust the sound levels so that the end product sounds much better. And so there's a couple of ways to do that. You do have a master control of volume that controls everything. But really what you want to focus on is using these independent sliders for each track. So you have a volume control for each individual track, which allows you to control the volume of just that track comparatively to the others. And so if you click and drag it to the left or right, you're either going to turn the volume of that track down or up. Something you can use to help is this cycle feature here. So if you turn on these double arrow here, you get this yellow bar. You can drag this yellow bar over a specific section of your loops here, and it's going to repeat that over and over. So it's just going to repeat this selection, all the tracks that are there. This can be very beneficial for you, so you don't have to keep stopping and going back, stopping and going back. So you see when it gets to the end of that selection, it goes right back to the beginning, and it will only play what's highlighted under that yellow bar over and over. You can see here we're hitting that red in our master volume, so we know we're too loud. We need to do some adjusting of the volume. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this cycle feature and click on this slider and pull it down and start adjusting that because it's way too loud. I want that to be more kind of background. It is atmosphere, so I don't want it to dominate the sound and the audio. The piano's a little loud too. I want my vocal to be louder than everything else. So instead of turning that up, since I'm already too loud, I'm going to start turning everything down. You can also double click like I'm doing here and just input the negative numbers that you want to use if you're having trouble sliding that slider back and forth.
And sings the tune without the words and never stops at all.
So that sounds a little bit better. It's a little bit better balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the cycle feature again and go to the next section. And this is what you'll do. You'll just turn on the cycle, go through that a couple of times until you find a good mix of the audio.
And sweetest in the gale is heard.
We've added another piano track now, and so that'll need to be adjusted. And so now I can come down to this second piano track here and go ahead and adjust that with the slider or double click and input the negative sound that I want to be there, and then you can just do the same with the rest. And so it's going to take some time to go through and listen to this using that cycle feature. I found it very helpful. And you just go through and go through each part and really try to focus down on a sound that you really like, that everything, there's not one thing overpowering everything else. Remember, you want that vocal part to be a little bit more prominent. Everything else is just helping to set the tone of your project. And so now I got everything just about where I want it.
In the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity.
Sounds pretty good. I'm going to turn down the master volume a little bit just to get out of the red zone there in the master volume. So I'm just going to drag the slider now for the master volume because I got everything else to sound the way it was, the way I like it. And so now I'm ready to go to the next part here, which is to show you that you can actually pan one track to the left or right speaker. And so for this first piano, since they're so similar, I'm going to click and drag up to pan one to the right speaker, and then click and drag down to pan the other to the left speaker. And so now when I play it, I'm going to get a little bit more of a stereo sound, and that's another feature that you can do in GarageBand to create something a little bit more interesting to the listener. So now you should notice that this piano is a little bit more in your right speaker or ear, and then as we get to the other one, you're going to hear that it's more in the left.
And never stops at all. and sweetest in the gale is heard.
So by using this panning feature, you're able to just create another level of interesting sound to the listener. It's not something necessary, but it is something you're going to have the ability to do. And so once you have all of the individual track volumes set to where you want them, you can make minor adjustments to the master volume to make sure that everything combined is not too loud. And then once you have everything set the way you want it, then you're going to be ready to export it and actually create an MP3 file that you can then share with everybody.